Hey everyone, thank you for being here for tonight's event. My name is Charlie Joy and I am a fiction MFA candidate here at UNLV. On behalf of the Black Mountain Institute, we would like to thank the Rogers Foundation and the College of Liberal Arts. Thanks also to our co-presenter this evening, the Women's Research Institute at UNLV. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones, please. After the reading, Jean Munson will be in conversation with Lille Allen, and then we'll take a few questions from the audience. She'll then be available to sign her books, which are available for sale tonight at the Plot Twist press table. I would like to encourage you all to check out BMI's website for our spring events, which includes a presentation by City of Asylum Fellow Fakria Asik next Tuesday, January 31st, and a reading by Spring 2023 Shearing Fellow Anna Q on Thursday, February 2nd. So with you, we would like to first acknowledge that UNLV operates from the city of Las Vegas, traditional homeland and unceded territory of the Nuubi or the Moapa Band of Paiute people. We encourage everyone in this space to engage in shared stewardship of the land, in active learning about historical realities of colonialism, and the indigenous peoples who continue to work and live on this land since time immemorial. So before I introduce our guest and moderator, I would like to say that I deeply appreciated the dedication that Jean Munson put at the beginning of her book. She writes, "Dedicated to all my past selves that suffered so I could heal. I meant to say sorry, you are loved." I love this dedication because it's one thing to know our past selves have voices, but it's another thing to pass them the mic and let them speak. It's hard but rewarding work. The fruits of this process blooms in Stretch Marks, a graphic psychologic autobiography that Munson deftly crafted to show us her journey of falling in love with her body, herself, and her mind, and in the process allowing all parts of her a chance to tell their story. So to introduce Jean Munson is a feminist Filipina activist and cartoonist from Guam. She loves using comics as a means to educate and empower those that are underrepresented and misrepresented in comics. Jean co-founded Plot Twist Publishing, a local comics company, and co-founded Comics and Zines Las Vegas, Cozy LV. With both local entities, she teaches comic and zine workshops all over the Vegas Valley. Currently, she is a part-time professor in the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Art Department, program coordinator for the Women's Research Institute of Nevada, and a graduate student in the University of Nevada, Las Vegas School Counseling Program. Her goal is to build comic literacy and creativity among underserved communities. And Lille Allen is a Latinx designer and writer based in Las Vegas. Currently the in-house designer at ETA, her writing can be found in Hyperallergic, McSweeney's, and others. So please help me give a warm welcome to Jean and Lille.
Do you want to start now? Okay, wow. Can everyone hear me? Test, test, test. No? How do we turn this mic on? Test. Okay, here I am. Thank you all for being here, friends, new fans, former fans. Big day here for Plot Twist Publishing. And when I was working on this really alone for 5 years, having this type of room is a dream manifested. So super thank you so much. Before I start, I wanted to, understand the makeup of the room and who reads comics here pretty often. Oh no, something fell. That was liquid. Okay, go ahead, we're gonna do calisthenics before this starts, just kidding. Whose first comic is Stretch Marks? Anyone? Thank you. Thank you for making that a hallmark in your comic literacy journey. And I just also want to shout out a lot of the young folks here who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. For those of you who brought your kids, thank you for making this also hallmark in understanding our bodies, ourselves, and the way we depict them. So huge special thanks to Black Mountain Institute for believing in showing this work tonight. And a huge, my home base, the Women's Research Institute of Nevada, a huge thank you to you for using this text to help women leaders in many of our programs. So thank you so much. A little background about Plot Twist Publishing. It was founded in 2016 in a diner from a Facebook status that I said, hey, I want to start a potion company. Meet me at Blueberry Hill. And 4 men came to meet me: Killian Cubstead, Greg Boucher, James Stone, and Coy Munson, that guy, and myself. And we started Plot Twist Publishing, and everything is made in Nevada. And so things to think about when you are supporting our work and the way that we support the talent here. For a long time, I like to humanize what a finished product looks like from a draft. And so to my right, to your left, is how it started in 2017. And I brought these 2 pictures up to show you the difference in the way that I hold my body. And so the finished product is really being more open and embracing more possibility than when I did hug myself, which I still do that to this day. But also my beta friends who read the book, they're like, wait, stretch marks is 2 words. And I said, oh no, time to rework that. And so that's really important for those who are starting any type of project. We always envision what the goal looks like, and drafts are the beauty of making something wonderful and having the patience to see where that draft goes in the hands of you and others is super important. And so I can't stress this enough to a lot of the creatives in the room that it's okay to keep working at something. It's a huge theme in the way that I teach comics and in the way that I welcome people to be introduced to comics. So these are pictures of the chapters, some drafts again, and I always tell people who are starting in comics or any type of drawing, because they're always like, I want to draw stick figures. Stick figures are the foundation of comics. If you know how to move a stick, you can move bodies, you can build skin, you can throw features. If you have made an avatar some way, somehow on the internet, you can still draw. And so I really think that this is an important way to humanize the process of stretch marks. It's sometimes I look at this and I'm like, well, these are kids' drawings, and when we think about creativity, we think that, oh, I was only really creative when I was a kid, and this is to let you know that the kid has never left. You're still that kid. It's still in you, and those drawings and those stories are really pertinent to sharing these experiences and building more humanity with each other. So this was the dedication that Charlie read. Each chapter is indicated by the different type of glasses and hair I had. I experimented a lot with my hair to indicate different parts of my youth. I thought that if I changed my hair and glasses, that people wouldn't recognize how heavy I was. And so as we embark in this reading, this might activate some feelings for some folks, because there's maybe a shared experience that we have, and I am hoping this gives you permission to feel those things. So just letting you know that we'll probably have more in common than not. Also, here's me. These pictures are not in the book, but I wanted you to know the historical accuracy of these depictions. A favorite movie of mine growing up was She's All That, and it was like she was magically hotter without glasses. So whenever it was picture day at school, I would not wear glasses to say I'm way cooler and attractive. In some years, it looks like I was confident enough to wear glasses, but these are all, this is a bunch of young women. I mean, one person, but and so that deeply embedded anxiety with the way that I look, even though I was into a lot of things like basketball and baking and hide and seek and stuff, none of that mattered because a lot of it was surrounded by this fixation on the way that I looked. And so for those of you who have not gotten the book, I wanted you to see what the back cover said. So has someone ever made you feel like your skin is flawed because of your stretch marks? Has that someone ever been you? Why would anyone make such a cringe comic? How dare I do this? Join me on this comic journey of different ages and stages of my life. Every moment taught me how crucial it was to love myself fiercely in a world that body shames, tells me I'm inherently flawed, and stretches my mark in this lifetime. Before I move on, when I first showed this to my beta group, someone was very angry that I would write a comic about weight. And one person in that beta group said, if you felt something, then Jean must be doing something right. Here's the prologue. Can you remember all the marks in your life that stretched you? Moments when you thought you'd break. Adult Jean with little jeans. So the first panel, those are boxes and comics, is me entering this party. My aunt is waving at me. She says, wow, Jean, you're tabat now, which is fat in Tagalog. Every time I look at the stretch marks on my skin, so we have the scene of a Filipino party. I'm sitting by myself, and then in silent panel, I'm considering if I should eat it. Here's a new scene, so I'm kind of middle school age at this point. That last one is elementary. I'm coming down to bicycle around my neighborhood. My brother and his friends are playing basketball, but my brother's trying to get my attention, and he says to me, one of my friends says you're fat. I bike home, I take my helmet, and I turn on the shower so no one hears me cry. This is adult Jean. I'm riding in the car with my dad. I'm looking at my phone. I think she's the prettiest one in the family. You'd be pretty too if you lost some weight. The silent panel of my dad, unaffected by what he said, me processing. I see these comments replay in my mind. And this is kind of the whole layout and palette of the comic, of what that looks like, to show you in these kind of cool tone colors, the kind of pressure that is accustomed to these moments. But that these type of themed comics keep perpetuating every age of my life. So this is the end to the prologue. Welcome to Stretch Marks, a story of falling in love with my body, myself, and my mind. And if you see that little car in my stretch mark as the vehicle to drive the story. Every chapter break is a word that I associate with that age. And this is age 6. This is traditionally what a Filipino home looks like in terms of the dining area. There's a nice Chinese cabinet. We have dinagoan, which is a dish there. We have lumpia. We have chicken adobo. We have garlic fried rice, pinakbet on there. As a kid, I ate a lot. Here's more. That's my mother, and there's my brother. I appear ungrateful if I don't finish my food. There was no concept of portion control, only waste control. Everyone's clearing out. As anyone can see, my big white grin, having the time of my life, eating. Don't eat too much. Watch your weight. As everyone can see, this is just towards me, not my brother. But for the people that raised me to eat mindfully, they did not celebrate my weight in the same breath. People always make assumptions about my body. Because I am a chubby Asian, I'm seen as greedy and careless. I accept the inevitable about how heavy I am compared with my peers. And the photos here are actual photos that are rendered for this story. I assume the role of the fat girl. If I can't be pretty, then I compensate for being good at other things. Being funny is my shield. Self-deprecation is my norm. And little did I know, it is teaching people not to respect me. So I want you to see, I was this age. I was 6, and boy, do I not look happy, right? So I wasn't a big kid, not that it mattered, but definitely this picture, whenever I see it, it shows how much I had absorbed this narrative, and I just held it in my demeanor. Age 18 attractiveness. This is actually the first story that was supposed to start stretch marks. The person who had the biggest critique in my beta group, I contacted her in the last year this book was being made because I was like, look, I know hurt people, but maybe hurt people together can heal people. And she was on board. Thank you, Sarah Elliott. So we moved it around, it was originally arranged by psychological impact, then it was arranged by age group. So it was more accessible to all ages instead of re-traumatizing readers. So here's me, you know if you represent, getting ready for my first day of college. Just getting ready, go Rebs. Hey sis, time to head to campus. Are those stretch marks? Is that what they're called? I had no clue. Absolutely no clue. Only pregnant women have those. You have those? I look back at the reflection in the mirror, shocked at what my body has become. Yeah, I am that fat. Fat enough that my body is about to explode. Now you'll never have a boyfriend with those. Crushed. Absolutely crushed. I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember if I cried or yelled at him to leave my room. The most important thing, I believed him. Age 18 still. And so, yeah, there's 2 stories with the age 18 because we're now seeing the full impact. I mean, these are not all the stories, it's kind of in the middle. The full scope of how this is now informing my interactions as an adult. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking for love in all the wrong places. Now that I know no one will date me, in-person dating was not an option for someone like me. So I'm in my parents' room using the Wi-Fi. I hang inside of chat rooms hoping to make a human connection. Yahoo chat, anyone? Anyone hang out there? Maybe we were both hanging out there at the same time. Okay, so I had to show you what kind of usernames and dialogue that was happening here because this is metastasized into what we know as Tinder today and whatnot. So I will read you this whole chat page. Punk Rock 1, Avril Lavigne sucks. I know I'm dating myself here. Poopy 2000, Britney Forever, baby. Lovely Asian. Anyone single? Rosalinda, no one wants you. Card Dude 447, I'm single, message me next. Enlightened Man, anyone read? Cool 420. Shut up nerd. Carts are cool, I love Avril. Punk Rock 1, y'all trash. And then I enter the chat room with just a basic hi, how's it going? And so here's more of, I really wanted you to see, and nothing has changed, y'all. So I really want you to see just the choice of attraction, right? Like this innocent babe, buff stuff, cute guy for all, right? Still use these. Some of them were emails at the time. And so this, you know, I am suddenly hit with a bunch of instant messages. They were called IMs, not DMs. And so here's me really nervous about that, right? So I'm like, this is supposed to be my alternative for meeting a human person. And so I really want you to look at these windows, and these are actual windows from back and then. Fine guy 545, age, sex, location, no hello, just my optics here. USC college guy, hi, ASL, what's your pounds? What's your pounds? Soulmate, show me you, prove you're hot. And literally these photos would be like this, right? Like no one knew where the lens was. Tom 202, send me pics, you hot. Jim Bro, hey sexy, height, body type. And you know, these comments are still persist in today's world, right? Thank you for that. So, you know, as this 18-year-old, I was like, okay, time to look for pictures again without glasses. So I thought, again, I am not good enough. I GTG, for those who don't know, I gotta go. And then I log out, right? So still no sense of value or worth. All right, so Inspire, this age 21 after college, so really high moment for me. I can't get a full-time job right out of college. While having my part-time job, I hang out at the community center looking for interesting classes. This is the Whitney Ranch Rec Center, fun place, good times. Here's me in the lobby. Here's these three ladies passing through. They look fun. I'm gonna sign up for their class. I follow them to the dance room. Come in. And so there's like music bumping. She walks in fit, thick, and an amazing athlete. I felt seen. This is the instructor. Let's get ready to move these beautiful bodies. All my classmates in class are older women, and during our workout, they cheer each other on. There's me trying to coordinate with them. We were all sizes and all empowered. This dance space feels like magic with this energy. I feel happy, safe, and supported. Over time, coming to class teaches me to continue happy spaces like this one. And this is rendered from this photo. And one of them's in the room. Love you, Carol. Have you ever looked at your own picture and immediately had questions and thought like, am I hideous? I am gross. Why am I so ugly? Only to look at the same picture a few years later and realize, wow, I wish I still looked and felt that way. I miss me. We've normalized self-deprecation, fat phobia, and body dysphoria. We've forgotten that being healthy requires mind and spirit as well as body. Food isn't the enemy. Our body isn't the enemy. Our love for ourselves can be tattered, shaken, and exploited. So we've been consuming quick fixes, commercialized for long, deep wounds. I hurt myself every time I invalidate my worth. I invite you to honor your experiences, even if they can be painful or embarrassing. And so the book really wraps up with my old and past selves finding a way back to me. Keep in touch! Thank you. Yes. Test, or maybe not.
Is it working?
Test, yes it is.
There we go. Jean, thank you so much for reading that to us, for sharing your vulnerable work. It's such an honor to be in this room that like truly loves you, and you can feel it. It was really such a joy to have this full circle moment with you. So I want to bring us down a little bit and talk about comics in a way like healing. I really want to set you up to say how comics have healed you. What have they taught you about yourself or about other people?
So, test. So my work is really comes together from two outlets, right? Comics and cartoons. And Sailor Moon and Peanuts really informed my work, and you can see how they're meshed together with Slice of Life and this magical palette and whatnot. And so those cartoons and comics helped me cope in a time where this didn't always have to be my reality. You know, my parents were just really, really hard on me. I could draw, I could read and whatnot, and I could build and imagine and dream something that was better. And I knew that in front of me, the media that I consumed would be the way that I could send a message to the future in terms of helping others understand that this, for us, can be very real if we're intentional about sending that type of love or influence or encouragement. And it's safe because it's transferable through the printed material. And so I really think about how Charles Schultz got to where he is and he's impacted my life, and I'll never meet him, or I'll never meet the people you pass this book to, but I know that the work is being done long after.
Yeah, I love that. It's working, okay. I also want to ask you about how you choose what goes into each panel. Really, like, your work is so vulnerable, but I think that you have to protect yourself in a lot of ways in what you choose to depict. So really tell me how you toe this line between being too vulnerable or maybe not being vulnerable enough. What is that middle ground for you?
Everything starts for me journaling wise, like, you know, everything that's ugly and really heinous is in my journal and whatnot. And for me, like, what delineates the good boundary is, how is this teachable? How can this be somewhat of a cautionary tale, but not harm the reader? And so I always kind of like think, okay, I mean, I'm one big nosy bee, but like, I literally see stories all day, right? I can see where something begins and ends when I'm sitting in a coffee shop just observing somebody, or a conversation that I have, and I think it's really rooted in mindfulness. Like, there's something special here, there's something very funny that nobody is paying attention to, and being able to capture that, right? I think that life kind of writes itself. And so even when I decided to put this in the first draft of 2017, and it was shown to that group, they were like, wow, this is really heavy. You really put yourself out there. Aren't you really scared that they'll come after you? And I immediately thought, there are worse things than them taking issue with me. And that, when I said that, I meant that that's when the real conversation can start, and we can squash the conflict. We can squash the inhibition to share. And so I've always been kind of an open sleeve, you know what that saying is. Yeah, I love sharing. I love teaching in that sense. I have so much to give in terms of story. And I think it's because I just love a great deal. I really do. I'm fascinated by people all the time. So I think that's why I'm willing to push the envelope in sharing, because I'm intentional about not harming people.
Yeah, and I think it's really true what you say about, like, observing the world around you. You are a true observer of, like, the little details. Yeah, we'll ignore it. But I want to bring this back to 2017, which is when you started writing this and really drawing it. What has changed since then for you? Because I think maybe in pop culture we've seen stretch marks depicted a bit more. My only reference for that is the Kendrick Lamar line, show me something natural, like ass with some stretch marks. But what is personal for you that has changed in that whole time?
The first draft didn't have an ending. I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna be dancing in front of a bakery, just let me make that up, you know? I just want it to end, I just want this story to end. And so when I got to, during the pandemic, when all of us had a little bit more time to think, I said, wait a minute, I'm there, I've arrived. Like, sometimes when you're creative, you're like, it's not perfect yet, somewhere in the ether it will be. No, everything that you have right now to make it happen. And so I was like, hey, I'm actually willing. Weight comments don't hurt me as much. And even when someone comes for me, I'm able to maneuver through it. there was a moment where I was wearing this cool green dress at a festival, came to visit my mom, and she's like, "You wore that?" And I said, "You know, Mom, I had the courtesy to compliment your shirt yesterday. You could do me the same courtesy, right? No voice escalated, no like name calling or name throwing." And she used that model of conversation for when somebody said something about her weight at work. And so even when, you know, it seems like I don't throw my family under the bus light, but I still feel like there's compassion in the way that I communicate, and that there's grace in the way that we approach these things, because we're under many influences of the narrative and the way to police each other. And so if I can disrupt that narrative with a few cartoons and compassion, I think that it's doable and possible. And so that's how I navigate that.
Yeah, I really love that. And I did want to ask about your family. Are Filipino families anything like Latino families, where there's always that one person at the party who's feeding you second, third plates, is like, you haven't had enough to eat, and then a few months down the line, they're like, "Oh yeah, your new nickname is Gordis," which has been my nickname for like 17 years. Tell us more about your family and the compassion you show them in this book.
Sure, I'm really glad you connected our cultures. You know, when I first watched Real Woman with Curves, in the part that her mom hates her body because it got big because she gave birth to her, I was like, oh, that's probably how my mom feels, even though I'm not Latina. And then when we ran our programming with Girls Empowerment Middle School with WRIN, a lot of their population are Latina, and they opened up a great deal about how this dynamic of feeding, because we're coming from a culture of deficit in terms of being fed from migrating, and then there's still an aesthetic because for Filipinos, Asians, and Latinas, that we're sexualized, so we have to still eat really well to honor our family, but we still have to be very sexually appealing, and so we're constantly juggling this at the middle school age, and so I definitely think there's commonalities, and I think that, I even got a comment recently this week from someone who's Eastern immigrant from the Midwest, that this is also something that occurs in their home. So it's the larger conversation is, how important is food in our culture and in our bodies?
Yeah. Now I want to bring us back to the present a little bit. Towards the end of the book, you depict yourself stretching in many different ways. I just want to check in with you. Are you still doing that? Are you still stretching yourself a little bit too far with everything you do?
This is an ongoing joke that I do too much. And I just feel like I always step up to the challenge in terms of that. I'm so grateful to have friends in all types of sectors and creativity. A new endeavor of mine, my improv friends and group is in the front. And so I do stretch myself in a way that it's fun and not in a way that is detrimental to me, because I know I'm a very capable person. But at the same time, I like to call people into these new endeavors that stretch me, right? And so that's why improv is now a huge love of mine.
I truly admire the way you talk about yourself and the way you encourage us to do the same. At the end of the book, you invite every reader to kind of reflect on the way we use self-talk, the parts also of the book that we relate to. And so I really want to ask your advice about those moments of reflection. How do you get to them? How do you do them? What can you say to us who haven't healed?
Sure. So at the end of the book that you're referring to, I have a debrief of to check in with yourself. There's a playlist. There's also activities, right? Because this is meant for young adult and up. And so how that even stemmed, right? As even before I entered my counseling graduate program, I realized what helped me when I was middle school and just couldn't take it anymore, right? I just couldn't take it. And the only coping mechanism with versus self-harm is writing to my future self. That kind of time travel. I said, all right, adult Jean, is this worth it? What are we doing? Are you gonna save me? What's going on? I really hate everyone. Everyone hates me, right? And so even now when I look at that, I think I saved my own life as a young person because I saw a trajectory for myself that was going to happen. I was going to make it through this hormonal, terrible time, and I crafted those two last kind of like activities based off that, right? To help everyone kind of get that skeletal template to understand how often and how mean we talk to ourselves, and then two, how great and how wonderful just today is.